Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro, and it's time to review Dream Scenario. This is directed by Christopher Borgli, who did Sick of Myself last year. It's about a boring middle-aged man who suddenly starts to appear in everybody's dreams. Like Sick of Myself, this movie takes a pretty funny premise and expands and expands and expands on it. And in that film, I actually felt like I got tired of the one premise. In this one, I feel like it finds a lot of really fun, exciting directions to go in. This director has a real knack for comedy. There are a lot of laugh out loud moments, just a lot of really creative ways that it expands its premise. This film is delightfully strange. And what better an actor to put in a delightfully strange film than Nicolas Cage? Just seeing him as this ordinary looking man with a full beard and a bald head inspired laughter among the audience. And his appearance never stops being funny. When he appears in people's dreams, he is always a passive figure that is just watching whatever kinds of oddities or horrors are happening. And this makes for some great comedy by just putting Nicolas Cage in some really odd scenarios and having him just stand there. I did not get tired of it. I think the comedy shines pretty much throughout the whole film. There's a lot of awkwardness and cringe. There are sexual and romantic undertones to these interactions. We're not sure if Nicolas Cage is someone we should like and feel like he's a family man, or whether he could be unfaithful and has something inside of him that could break. And everybody I talk to is extremely delighted with at least the first half of this film. And it begins to attempt to commentate on levels of society and capitalism, some of which I thought paid off and some of which I'm not really sure. And social media, I think. Yeah, and like, for sure, you know, cancel culture or whatever. It delves into cancel culture quite a lot, actually. The first half of this movie was more fun and funny than the second half. But as the second half went on, I felt that it offered a little bit more to chew on maybe than the first half. Or rather, the ideas were challenging me more. I think maybe some of the more cancel culture arguments that this movie might be making, and maybe it's not even making them, maybe it's just using ideas of cancel culture to make a parallel or a different point or nearby point. I don't know that those points really landed, but I think it does get at something about our inability to control the perception that other people have of us in a world where we have different online personas. And also in the second half, there's like this sci-fi element that I thought was very thought-provoking as well. I really like the sci-fi angle that it took. The movie did leave me with a lot to think about. I don't know that it goes extremely deep, but I at least want to revisit it. I think the end had the right bit of emotional poignancy to it, and I feel like the ideas it's exploring are original. I also find the overall style of the movie to be very original, especially like the dry humor and the creative premise. So I found this to be one of the highlights of TIFF, and I was really excited by it. The first half's really strong in part because it challenges the character and puts him in situations where his ego may be inflated and his integrity compromised. And there are many opportunities for him to make strong character decisions that inform how we see him. And the direction that the plot takes in the second half, without spoiling it, seems to render his choices completely inconsequential. And so I felt like we couldn't really explore him anymore because he could no longer be challenged. And I even feel like what the filmmaker wanted us to see in it felt a little bit like it was forced upon us. Like, I'm not sure I was seeing that in the beginning. I don't necessarily feel like those messages map onto the situation that he even created. So it did lose me in the second half when I was ready to say it was one of my favorites of the festival. I'm not so sure by the end. It's possible it could change, and it's certainly open to some interpretation. I also want to shout out the cinematography that I thought was really strong. It also weirdly proved at moments that this director could do a good horror movie. And we went all this way with barely mentioning how good Nicolas Cage is in here. This is yet another juicy performance for him to sink his teeth into. And we always welcome a Nicolas Cage performance that is fun and that is part of a actually good movie. Nicolas Cage continues to show that he has incredible range, and he can effortlessly make us wonder about his mindset and where he's at. And of course, he gets many hilarious moments that he knocks out of the park and that the audience was just eating up. I also think a lot of people see the comedic side of Nicolas Cage as just being that he can erupt big, but clearly the director thinks much more of Nicolas Cage than just him doing those crazy bits. I think I might agree with you on some of the flaws of the movie, but I also am kind of reserving some final thoughts for seeing this movie again, which I want to. I would give this movie an 8 out of 10. I would give this a strong 7. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Do you see Nicolas Cage in your dreams?